Thank you. Sammy is actually a guy, so I'm not.
Sorry about that.
Hi, my name is Sally Khallash, and I'm a futurist. And I'm actually the third. We're three futurists today on this stage, so we must really be visionary people. Happy to hear that. I would like to talk to you about boundaries and borders. The last years, I've been working a lot on projects on how to attract migrants, immigrants to our countries, to the Scandinavian countries. Some years ago, I was approached by the Danish Immigration Service, and after that by the Ministry of Integration, and after that by the European Commission, on how to attract more immigrants to our countries. So I was so excited about this because, well, I'm an immigrant myself, so this is something so close to my heart. So I was so happy that I could contribute to this matter. And I started so engaged and so enthusiastic. But then I discovered we're not actually talking about how to recruit. We're not actually talking about how to invite people. We're not actually talking about mobility. We're talking about restrictions. We're talking about regulations. And I was so puzzled when I started my research some years ago, and I tried to push forward the whole mobility idea. Well, how can we attract? And it was so impossible. So I went from enthusiastic to puzzled to really, really frustrated. And after that, actually pretty scared, because it's not just for fun that we're trying to attract people, it's because it is so necessary. So I think that the thing I would like to take up today, something I think it is so necessary to start discussing, is how we conceive, how we perceive boundaries, how we think about our boundaries. And I would like to take up this discussion, and I hope that you will discuss this also after these 18 minutes. Okay. But I would like to start with the good old days. Because mobility, the fact that people are moving around, that's not very new. It's actually as old as mankind history. And in our countries, in the Scandinavian countries, the last 800 years, they have been target for so many immigrants, people who wanted to move around for seeking jobs. And in the 16th century, it was the time of our lives, because we were building so many buildings with Christian IV, and we were needing so many craftsmen and master builders. So we were trying to attract people, and, well, the craftsmen were traveling around seeking jobs. So the strategy was so clear. When they come, as soon as they come, you grant them a citizen letter immediately after they come. Then you encourage them to settle down, to buy property, and then you encourage them to take a wife. So the thing was, please, come, take our jobs and seize our women. And I thought it was so beautiful a thing that you had people engaged so much in the mobility and in attracting other people. And at that point, actually, every 12 people in our countries were an immigrant born outside. Once again, we're actually in the same situation. We're needing people. You're not unfamiliar with these facts. I mean, the demographic trend is so obvious for everybody. It has been said so many times in the media, by our politicians, etc. The fertility rate in our countries are low, and although we're actually among some of the countries in Europe with the highest fertility rates, it's still below replacement rate. So we're dying out. At the same time, life expectancy is so high that we're actually at the same time growing older. Furthermore, the graph number 2, it looks at potential support ratio. What this actually describes is that in 2006, if you look at the graph, for every elderly, we had 4 people supporting that person. Already in 2013-14, we're down to a little over 3 people. And after that, then it starts looking very scary, because we're down to 2.5 people supporting 1 elderly. This is not fiction. We have been talking about this for so many years, but actually it is right now the consequences are really kicking in. So we have to start looking at these facts. And while Anna would say, probably that we should be happier, we should think about prosperity and how to create sustainable solutions, that's actually not what our politicians are doing at this point. They're kicking in all sorts of directions because they think, well, one solution wouldn't be enough. So we need so many solutions. So what could the solutions be? For instance, we could increase the size of working age population. That would say, well, men and women equally participating in the labor market. But they're actually doing that already. Okay, well, that solution is not sufficient. Then we need to work more. Could we work more? Well, that's not politically very good. Could we extend the retirement age? Or maybe we could just encourage people to enter the labor market a bit earlier. But that actually coincides with solution number 2, which is productivity. Because education and productivity is so closely linked together. If we enter the labor market earlier, we would have less time for education, then our productivity would fall. So, what could we do? We could increase the number of foreign workers. Beautiful, that's water on my wheel, so. The thing is, everybody's saying it, let them in. I mean, it's like rolling out the red carpet. Actually, in the European Commission, they use those words. Please roll out the red carpet. Please show them what beautiful countries we have. Look at it. At the end of the stair, there is this door to this beautiful, beautiful place where jobs are interesting, salaries are high, women are lusting. I mean, please, come to our countries. And immigrants are actually looking at this and they're liking. I was looking at this analysis made by the World Bank, and it actually showed for Denmark, Sweden is a bit lower, but for Denmark, we're actually placed as number 11 country in the world, which is most attractive, number 12 country, which is most attractive for immigrants. All the countries in the world, number 12. So the task should be so easy. They would like to come. So what are we doing? We place a ton of bricks on that beautiful, beautiful door. That's the restrictions. I mean, the focus on this subject have been so crucial since 2001, where when we created in Denmark, we created the Ministry of Integration. And since then, we have the Aliens Act, which is actually regulating this topic, this subject. And the Aliens Act since 2001 have been regulated and changed, not just minor changes, but have been changed 14 times. 14 times. I mean, every 8 months, the rules are being changed. Imagine yourself. You're an immigrant. You look to Denmark. It looks attractive. And then you say, well, I would like to come. But then you have to update your knowledge on this every 8 months. And the thing is, the rules are so inflexible. Aside from one rule, you have to have a job in order to be able to come in. So you're offered a job, and then you think, well, beautiful, I have to seek for a work permit, a residency permit. And then you take the job, and the job isn't really you. You don't really like that job, but you discover in the same company, or maybe in another company, there is another job, and you think, I would actually like to apply for that job. Then you have to go through the whole process one more time. Another thing, imagine yourself, many of you are probably entrepreneurs. Good ideas, you come from a third country, you think, I would like to actually apply that idea, that business in Denmark. You have to apply for a work permit every year. You're not automatically entitled to have your family along. You have to justify that it's absolutely crucial that you work in your own company. And then if you have, well, if you're clear on all the rules and then you come in, afterwards, the authorities actually have to evaluate, does your company pose any competition for the existing companies in your sector? I mean, I don't know about your businesses, but most businesses actually compete. So I don't know, being an entrepreneur in the Scandinavian countries, forget about it. The second ton of bricks are EU. I know at this point we don't have a joint EU policy on immigration, but it's coming. The proposal was put forward in 2007. Already today we're using this as guidelines. And at one point this will come. So imagine again how the complexity of the rules would actually increase. You would have to update your knowledge on EU rules and on national rules every time you would like to come to one of the countries, every 8 months. So I started thinking to myself, okay, I'm working in this field, I'm not very motivated at this point. Is it because that immigration is bad? The question is immigration a bad thing, since we are posing so many restrictions on immigration? Well, I'm happy you asked this question, because no, immigration isn't bad. Immigration is actually quite good, as I see it. Immigration is something which is expanding our labor market. It's expanding the pie, the economic pie. I would like to look at 3 myths about immigration. One myth is, very common myth, many popular myths. One is immigrants steal jobs from the natives. What we're actually doing here is we're looking at the labor market, the job market, as static. But the number of jobs aren't static, and the job market is not a zero-sum game. If you look at it, since 2007, well, that was the economic heydays. In 2007, for every fired, there were 60 new positions. Although afterwards, because of the crisis, the number of new positions per fired were shrinking, it stabilized in 2009, and now it's rising again. Imagine again, in Denmark, we have over 500,000 immigrants. The immigrant population is over 500,000 people. If immigrants were stealing jobs, if the job market was static, then we would have 500,000 of unemployed Danes. And that's not the issue in Denmark. We have just a little over 100 unemployed Danes. Today, in 2009, in the crisis, during the crisis. So this is not the issue. And why isn't it the issue? It's because immigrants are actually creating new jobs. And that is something to do with immigrant competences. Immigrants do not have the same competences as the native population. If you look at the graph there, it's homemade. What the graph does is it describes, well, how are immigrant competences compared to the native competences. Looks at competences, the X, and the number of immigrants. So immigrants are placed in 2 categories. They either have low skill, very low skill, or they have very high skills. Native population are the opposite. Most of us have a mid-long education. So immigrants are actually going in, taking jobs which the native population either won't take because it's crappy jobs, or they can't take because it takes too much education, it's specialized. The second myth I would like to talk to you about is immigrants reduce wages for the average worker. I think that's a pretty interesting thing to say. The thing is, that's not really the matter. That's not the issue. We haven't done so much research on this, but the facts actually show during the same period which immigration rose in our countries, in the Scandinavian countries, since 1985 until now, at the same period, our wages actually rose quite rapidly. So immigrants aren't posing competition, are not pressing our wages. And why is that? Again, it's because immigrant competences are so different. They do take other jobs. So if you have an immigrant population, most of them are low skilled at this point in our countries. They're taking jobs as cleaners, in restaurants, etc. That actually creates new jobs. You need more supervisors, you need more managers, etc. So immigrants are actually creating more and better jobs for the natives. And also, as the number of population increases, demand for goods, groceries increases, and that actually at the same time increases production. The final thing is, and this is actually the thing which is frustrating me the most, is we say, okay, we need immigrants, but we would only like to have the highly skilled. And I think that is such a shame, and it's so wrong for a society. It's obvious to see why. It's obvious to see why. because, well, this is T. Rogers from Semiconductor, an engineering company in the US. He said in the Wall Street Journal, well, every time we hire one engineer, he creates 5 new jobs. If it's a success, he creates 5 new jobs. The reason why he does so is because, well, he starts producing more, so we need more people in sales, in marketing, etc. Creates 5 new jobs. In Denmark, the Ministry for Economics and Business Affairs did the same analysis, and it showed actually for every foreign engineer we hire, we create 2 new jobs in the same way. Pretty interesting. But the thing is, the immigrants coming here are not just happy with working, they also need to go to restaurants. They want their clothes dry cleaned in a dry cleaning store. They want to go to cafes, to movies, etc. And that actually, again, requires more low-skilled people. So we need both type of immigrants because we have too high competences. So if we were going to take crappy jobs, we want very high salaries for that, or else we won't do it. So this is actually the end of my presentation with the 3 myths about immigration. The thing is that I think it's about time we start discussing boundaries. It's about time we discuss the restrictions we place upon immigration. Who do we want to have in? I think, in the words of Edward Prescott, protectionism is seductive, but countries who succumb to its allure will soon have their economic hearts broken. At this point, as I see it, we're behaving like that guy. We're just placing our foot forward, and then we're aiming at this foot. And since 2001 in Denmark, we have shot at it 14 times. And I mean, at this point, the foot is almost dead, and we're still shooting at it. I mean, come on already. Stop with the rules. Just let them in. I think that was the end of my presentation. Thank you.